Match. We're going to be featuring Daniel Zhou on the left playing Lugia Archeops. We see
that's not Ian.
Yeah, that's not Ian Robb. That is Daniel Zhou. I think we got our players backwards here a little bit, but that is a-okay. It is going to be a Lugia mirror, so the deck breakdown is going to be the same for either
The accomplishments might look a little different.
Yes.
Ian Robb with a lot of regionals under his belt.
Yeah, Ian Robb is actually looking to win his 5th regional championships if he were to get a victory here today. And
he switched
Ian is someone who's been on an absolute heater, but for now we'll talk about Daniel Zhou. Top 32 in Toronto this year, top 64 in Peoria, top 128 in Indianapolis, and a team challenge finisher. Ooh. I know that's a tournament series that's close to your heart, Kyle.
I love the team challenge. It's so exciting to see all these players representing for their local game stores, and it's great to see Daniel was a part of that competition. We did get to actually feature a lot of the top 4 and of course the finals throughout all of the matches that we streamed, so probably got to watch a little bit of it. I'm gonna have to refresh myself though, as I was probably just focused on the team name.
And we do see he is indeed playing that Lugia V-Star Archeops deck along with 5 other players in our top cut. That is right, 6 Lugia V-Star in our top 8 of this event. And on the other side, Ian Robb, we already teased his accomplishments a little bit. Most recently, Indianapolis Regional Champion. He's won the Portland Regional Championships, the Madison Regionals, and I believe he also won the Collinsville Regionals even before that. We only have so much space on our accomplishments sheet.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, and Ian certainly has that issue here. We're using the Lugia V-Star Archeops, as we mentioned already. Seen a lot of this mirror match. He's taken down some big names in the mirror, and we'll see if he's able to do it once more. Hopefully these prize cards have nothing to say about that.
Speaking of the prizes, nothing I think too terrible. That Amazing Rare Evil Tall for Daniel is something that could definitely come up. The V-Guard on Ian's side is a card that's usually pretty nice in the mirror match. It kind of depends on who goes first or second, right? Where both of these cards are valuable.
Yeah, I like that Escape Rope as well. That's the one card that really is different in these lists. I believe no Dunsparce on the other side for Daniel too.
No.
So some interesting inclusions and exclusions as we go along. I really love to see the Escape Rope in a lot of matchups, and this is one where it actually could be relevant too. So maybe we'll see that in a later game. What are we doing, guys?
They figured it out eventually. Fist bumps all the way.
I want to see the turkey one time, you know?
The turkey. Next caster showdown, all right?
All right.
Into this game we go. Daniel Zhou starting it off, drawing for turn. I believe I must have top decked the... Oh, maybe didn't top deck the Lugia. It's actually interesting. Choosing to hold it into the hand. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he top decked it, or did he choose to start the main?
Well, it either screams no confidence in the hand if you didn't top deck it, because if you know that you're going first, then clearly you want to play that down.
Yeah.
You don't mind having it in the active spot. But most of the strategy when you're playing Lugia is have that single prize starter. So maybe just sticking with that route. But when I go first, I just want to get rolling.
Getting rolling, Daniel is with an Ultra Ball to discard the Archeops, taking a moment to check the prize cards as the stakes continue to rise through our top cut. These players want to be ever more careful of the littlest of decisions, making sure they are totally aware of what they have access to. You'd hate to see a situation where, you know, you discard an Eternatus VMAX and your other 2 are prized, right?
Yeah, this is, we've seen that once or twice, haven't we?
No Eternatus in this instance, though. Quick ball now for Daniel, grabbing out that Luminion. Luminous Sign can fish for a supporter, but for now I think it will be held in the hand. Perhaps there is an Oranguru in the hand to prep this on top of the deck, or Daniel maybe just wanted to guarantee getting the Archeops in the discard pile.
Yeah, I think that's generally the number one thing that you're going for in this matchup. Every player knows that when you're in the Lugia mirror match, that turn 1 Marnie can be a real pain. So just play down that Lugia V, feel comfortable with the 2 Archeops in the discard pile. See what your opponent can come up with, as Ian's going to start things off with that capture energy.
Yeah, going very quickly, attaches that special energy card, which will now allow him to search his deck for a basic Pokemon, place it onto the bench. Oftentimes, when going second in the Lugia mirror, we see players go for that second Lugia V. Now, worth noting, Ian did prize a Lugia V. He is playing that 3-2 evolution line, so has the second one available. It's pretty rare that you would ever want the third one, so I think that is A-okay in Ian's book. As he's checking through his prize cards here, you know, we've talked before about how going second in the mirror, sometimes you want to try to go for a Marnie on your opponent, disrupt them a little bit. But when Daniel gets down to Archeops, is that even really a strategy worth extending for?
Yeah, I think the strategy almost goes out the window. As the only benefit really of that is the fact that maybe if your opponent was holding on to that Professor's Research and trying to get rid of that Archeops in a different fashion, well, now they can't do that. They're going to just leave them with 4 cards, and they're going to try to top deck out of this. So I like to focus on myself, but we see here.
Might be all Ian has.
I don't think Ian had anything. Obviously, he would have played some cards into the discard pile if he could have.
Yeah,
Evolution Incense, is this going to just be Read the Wind?
It's looking like it. I didn't notice anything else special in this hand. Read the Wind can ditch this Archeops, gets it into the discard pile, so that accomplishes a little something for Ian. One benefit of the Marnie, though, on Ian's side is that he knew Daniel had Luminion in hand. So now he's put that to the bottom of the deck. Makes it a little less likely that Daniel has a supporter card, but, I mean, it's pretty unreasonable to expect your opponent not to play a supporter, even off of just 4 cards.
Yeah, it's not the turn that you're looking for, but it's enough to keep you in it. As we see, Daniel is now going to be working with 5 cards, and hey, welcome back, Luminion.
Draw the other one. How about it? Second full art Luminion hitting the hand, and now hitting the field as Luminous Sign can grab any supporter card out of Daniel's deck. Any inkling of what he may want to go for here?
Marnie.
Well, the fact that your opponent just drew a bunch of cards makes me think that a Marnie would be a very nice find if you can work that into the mix, but it also just depends on if you have the Lugia V-Star available. So we could see a card like that Irida featured. You could go ahead and search for that Evolution Incense, maybe if that is the missing piece.
Yeah, we've seen Irida a ton over the past season or so in namely the Palkia, Origin Form Palkia V-Star decks, but it's something that started to pop up towards the end of this format in these Lugia decks. You want to talk about maybe why it's something that players are choosing to include?
Yeah, it's a card that, although we've seen some players, there's been a debate, although if you want to, you can work towards that Skyla, or you can have the Irida. Skyla is nice because occasionally it finds you the supporter outright that you're looking for, that boss's orders, but Irida can just grab you the item that you're looking for that turn, and the Luminion, which also grabs you the supporter theoretically. So I think that this has been the card that a lot of players have been leaning towards in that Irida now.
Daniel's though already at an advantage by going first in this mirror and is pushing that advantage now with the turn 2 Summoning Star V-Star power, resurrecting the 2 Archeops from ancient history right to the discard pile, and already has an energy in hand to retreat this Manaphy, can pretty easily load up this Lugia with a couple of Primal Turbos, get this ready to attack, and I feel like we're going to see a 2-prize KO coming from Daniel Zhou very, very soon.
Yep, this is the issue that we run into in the mirror so often is when you're going second, you have to play down that second Lugia V, and it's great to have Summoning Star, but it's bad to give up 2 prize cards and potentially 2 more. I'd love to have at least any single prize Pokemon in the active spot in this situation, but Ian just wasn't able to find anything.
Yeah, Ian does not have much going on, and there is a theoretical response for him if he can pop off with a retreat into an Eviltal, into an amazing destruction, but as of now, he's only got 1 Archeops in the discard pile, so step 1 is going to be finding a way to get another one of those down.
Well, maybe he can borrow your computer search.
Yeah, Sableye holding on to it for now. Capture Energy now on this Manaphy will not only allow it to retreat, but also can allow Daniel to get another Pokemon, but is choosing to get nothing here. Haven't seen anything like that Oranguru come into play. Makes me wonder if Daniel wants to just save this bench space for the Luminion, right? Oh, yeah, that's right. He did just put one in hand with that Irida, so wants to make sure he can have that option available.
Yeah, it's almost a little cocky, saying, you know what, I don't think you're going to knock out anything next turn. This 4 bench space is going to be just fine.
Maybe even plays around a collapsed stadium a little bit, something that the Lugia decks do play from time to time.
Yep, well, this is going to work out perfectly here. Take 2 prize cards, knock out a Lugia V, and Ian has a lot of work to do. Does have that Evolution Incense to start things off, though.
Let's see if this gets an Archeops or a Lugia, and he brings an Archeops to the front right away, so that signals to me potentially an Ultra Ball in the hand or an attach of the Aurora Energy with a supporter just hoping to find. But he's already started to move energy cards around. Oh yeah, there's a Lugia V-Star already in the hand.
Yeah, I was counting the powerful energies. I think he has at least 1 in the hand, so he's looking to see how many he's going to have for the rest of the match. Yeah, he's going to throw them down immediately. Do we have a Choice Belt in the mix?
That is something Ian is going to need. He does just play 1 single copy. Of course, that Irida could be used to find it right away. Would need, I think, 1 more. No, this is enough powerfuls, right, with the Choice Belt. He just needs the belt, and he's got that 1 of in hand. How about that?
Yep, going to use the money as well. Has the second Primal Turbo ready to go, and he's going to put one of those powerful energies, at least one of them, back down to the bottom of the deck there as he had it in hand. So can go search it out now, grab it.
Yeah.
And if he even wants to play energy for the turn, he could look at his hand and see if he's got one.
Yep.
No, he just played the
I
Aurora.
think he threw down the Aurora, so this works out perfect.
Yep, he attached the Aurora for turn to discard that Archeops,
Right.
right? So now he is finding a response right away. He's going to tie this game up using Evolution Incense now to thin that Archeops out of the deck. You don't want that available in your hand. You don't really need any Evolution Pokemon for the rest of the game. It's unlikely you're going with another Lugia V-Star as one is prized and the other one has already been KO'd.
Yeah, that's a big knockout here, and the response starts to get a little tricky here for Daniel's side, as we saw that the Amazing Rare Evital is in the prize cards.
Yeah.
Basically comes down to maybe that Raikou and the Choice Belt. If those cards were found from Daniel, that'd be very impressive.
But it's hard to find it now because he's already used the Irida, so I think it's really unlikely, actually, for Daniel to find the response KO on this Lugia, and the send-up of the Lumineon may signal an Aqua return incoming. For now, though, Ian Robb ties this game up. 2 prizes taken, 4-4 for these 2 players in our top 4 match. And Daniel Zhou with a boss's orders in hand. I think a research hiding back there as well. I do see at least an Archeops. That's obviously not going to be very helpful.
Yeah, we're done with that part of the game. we need to move past that, and I don't know if he's going to be able to find a relevant supporter other than the boss's orders there, and that's not exactly the strategy you're lined up for at this point of the game.
Yeah, and we saw he's paused for a moment to look at that Raikou, but can't really utilize it. It's unlikely that he would draw into all the pieces necessary to get the knockout. Now, if he does have a research in hand, it may be his best supporter to play just in general, so he obviously isn't necessarily going to go for that line, but he's going to leave it open. He's going to play the research and see what he draws. But instead, it actually looks like that may not be a research, and we're seeing Primal Turbo utilized immediately.
I'm going to look at some of these energies. If the attacker for this turn is going to be the Lumineon, then maybe you want to preserve some of those nice energies you'd like to have later on in the match. You can just throw them all onto the Lumineon V and then shuffle them back in for later on.
Debating which energies to attach, and this is something that you see from players from time to time, over attaching the energy cards. You know, Lumineon doesn't necessarily need all these energies, but by putting all these extra energies on, well, there's no supporter, so maybe we're just flexing a little bit, but I was thinking, you know, you put all the energies on, then you play the Marnie or research, so you're less likely to draw an energy and they remain in your deck when you Aqua return, but Daniel kind of invalidated that when he didn't play a supporter.
I'm all about a flex, okay?
Yeah,
that's completely valid here, and this speaks a lot because there was not much going on that turn. I guess the only benefit that we see of this Manaphy promotion is there's 3 powerfuls already down, so it's not like a Stoutland is going to surprise us and take the knockout here on the Manaphy.
Yeah, that's why Daniel feels safe sending it up, right? That's something that you would always have to keep in the back of your mind, that double dip Fangs coming out. Does only deal the 40 base, so would not quite be enough. Ian now, hands on the head, thinking through the flow chart, trying to analyze exactly what he needs to do in this spot. Not just thinking about this turn, but thinking about the future as well. Where do my last 3 prizes come after I take 1 prize this turn?
Yeah, Ian is one of the fastest players I've ever competed against, and not only in just like the way that his hands move and the way that he's thinking about the game, but just computational skills in general. And sure enough, he's going to find the right line here, trying to figure things out. And it looks like getting at least one of these energies down to the Archeops, potentially considering about the thinning and retreating later on in this match. But I really like the opportunity here to knock out this Manaphy if there's enough energies to maybe work in that Raikou at a later stage.
Yeah, it does make things really interesting if Daniel was to ever bench something like the Oranguru. You all of a sudden have a path to take 2 prizes in 1 turn, knocking out the Lightning Weak Archeops and the Oranguru on the bench. Daniel has been not putting that in play, though, so far this game, and I wonder if that is maybe intentional, knowing that his Manaphy has been started. Not sure.
Ooh, there it is. The boss's orders had it ready to go, and that's perfect. Even better than thinking about later. Let's think about right now. Your opponent is going to be limited to just 2 energies out of the deck, 1 from the hand for the rest of this match.
And now Daniel left wondering maybe how to respond. I feel like a Radiant Charizard is going to be one of the best paths with a couple of energy cards on it, but I was debating what to send up here. You have that free pivot set up with the Manaphy thanks to the energy you attached last turn. So I think that makes the most sense, and Daniel seems to agree after a little bit of thought and deliberation. The top deck for turn is that Capture Energy. Of course, can grab another Pokemon out of the deck, maybe even finding that Radiant Charizard.
Yep, the capture lines up for the Radiant Charizard. If we found Quick Ball, maybe some different Pokemon could be considered, maybe that Raikou, but you'd have to have the Aurora Energy ready to go from hand, and that's really going to be the situation that Daniel's going to be fighting through the rest of the game. Needs to have the energy ready to go from hand if he ever wants to work in 3 energy attacks.
Right, and that makes things more difficult, like attacking with the Raikou. In this spot, maybe this is what Daniel was almost trying to set up. If he could have gone Raikou, KO this active Lugia, load some damage on something on the bench, that would have been great, but Ian played around that by not only bossing the Archeops, taking that extra energy acceleration out of play, but also didn't put anything on the bench that can easily be KO'd.
Yeah, it lines up really nice plays with Stoutland later on. You can just knock out that Pokemon and do all sorts of things. There's a lot of cool combos that we've seen throughout the game.
Daniel now, I believe, playing an Ultra Ball, figuring out what to grab, or is that Capture Energy, excuse me, does find that Radiant Charizard, and now Primal Turbo can instantly pull those 2 energies out of the deck necessary to attack, of course, thanks to that Excited Heart ability. Its Combustion Blast attack can be used for now 3 less energy, so he needs just 1 fire and 1 colorless. And the fire of choice will be that Heat Fire energy, which also boosts the hit points for that Radiant Charizard by 20.
Yeah, it could be important in some of the math, but we see with all those powerfuls already played down, it's going to be hard for the Archeops at least to find the knockout. But it can't hurt to have a little extra hit points on your side.
Yeah, make it as difficult as possible. Force your opponent pretty much into playing Lumineon that turn. Though granted, I don't think that Ian would be too upset about putting a Lumineon in play and Aqua returning it.
Yeah, that might mean that something else is happening this game, and you could do a lot of stuff with that.
Combustion Blast takes the knockout. 2 prizes now for Daniel. Ian taking a moment, looking through the discard pile. Daniel is ahead at this point as far as the prize race goes, but which board position do you favor in this spot, Kyle?
I always wonder when you have the Radiant Charizard there, obviously it looks like such a big threat, but it's not doing anything this turn. Then you consider boss's orders and you want to knock out that Archeops and limit all the potential. You can put your opponent on just that Radiant Charizard, and if you have an answer for it, you're ready to go. So I think if Ian Robb has the boss's orders, he's probably favored from this spot.
Yeah, but the problem is he needs boss's orders in hand and not to have to Lumineon for it. If he has to use Lumineon to find boss, that opens up Daniel to win with a boss's orders or a Serena. And he just played a boss last turn. What is the likelihood he has 2 stacked up in his hand?
Unlikely. We see the Ultra Ball. Gonna look for some additional help now. Of course, with the double Archeops, plenty of energies to go find, and the Lumineon is going to be the target. So perhaps we will see this used as the attacker this turn.
And it maybe could be a situation as well for Ian if he thinks his best play is to boss Archeops and hope his opponent doesn't have the boss KO on their end. He might go for it, but that feels unlikely at this point. I mean, Daniel hasn't played much the last few turns, and usually when your opponent's not playing much, you have to start to wonder, okay, they have some cards in their hand. What possibly could those cards be? And things like boss's orders make a lot of sense. So we will see Ian is going for the Irida, like you mentioned, may line up for the attack this turn with that Aqua return.
You see those energies attached now, and just holding the Irida for the moment, considering if it's worth playing here.
Debating what the move is. Actually just pulling it out of the deck with Luminous Sign to instantly thin it with the Quick Ball. Irida not going to gain much value at this point. Grabbing that Radiant Charizard and putting it directly onto the bench. Prepping that as your attacker for the next turn. Playing around a potential Marnie maybe on Daniel's side.
Yep, already has the retreat lined up there with the Archeops. Can go ahead and use that with one of those captures. Has the second one ready to go if you ever want to swap in and out with that Lumineon. And down goes the Marnie, which is going to disrupt the hand, but it was already pretty awkward to begin with. We'll see if Daniel finds the right cards now.
Like we mentioned, Daniel had really not been doing too terribly much, but in this spot now, we know that a boss's orders was put to the bottom, so that does limit some options.
Takes one last peek.
Thinking through, it will be the retreat and the Aqua Return. Are we returning into an Archeops, or no, it's going to be that Radiant Charizard now with that V-Guard energy, giving it a little bit more survivability. We have to maybe do some quick maths. Does that let it survive the hit from Luminion? How does it work? Does V-Guard go before or after weakness? I'm going to check.
Yep, with the heat, of course, you get a little extra bump there, and it's after applying, so I think we're still
I think Charizard's going down.
Out.
Yeah.
Maybe this doesn't run into an issue with the double turbo.
No, because you do 100 times 2. It's 200 minus 30. That actually would let you survive.
So you make your opponent have the energy in hand to attach to the Luminion.
That V-Guard is actually massive for Ian because Daniel has to now find Luminion, find an energy from hand, and accelerate 2 from the deck to it. And none of those energy cards, by the way, can be double turbo.
We got there.
Yeah, we're doing it live, baby. Evolution Instance now thinning that Archeops out of the deck. Daniel Zhou with just 4 cards in the hand. I don't think I see an out to the Luminion. I do see an energy card, however, and a research as well. It gets a little awkward. If you play research, you lose an energy. It's a piece you need, but is there really another choice?
Yeah, this is tricky. It's a powerful energy, too. It's such a nice one. He's going to throw it away. Has to go for a Luminion in combination with an energy card, but not all of them, of course. You got to have at least some hanging out. We do see the Ultra Ball there, along with plenty of those Aurora energy.
Now the question is, how many are left in Daniel's deck, and how many of them are double turbo? Does he have 2 non-double turbo energy remaining in his deck? And also, if he's using Aqua Return, what is he sending up? You know, he can't send up Manaphy. It just gets KO'd to Archeops instantly, so he has to send up his Archeops. And if Ian can find a way to knock it out, Daniel has no acceleration left in the deck. I don't know. Ian has found a way in this matchup, going second, to pivot himself into a pretty favorable spot here. He's really put Daniel in a bit of a pickle.
Yep, Daniel looking at Lugia accounts here, just trying to see, is there a Pokemon that could potentially knock out my Lugia if I have to eventually pivot into
Aqua Return into that, and that might be what he's doing this turn. One of the best answers, of course, is the Radiant Charizard, and that is going to be discarded promptly here.
The hand is going to get really thin if Aurora energy has to be used. I think a powerful energy was found, but I worry about how many relevant energies are left in the deck now.
I think if Daniel went into Lugia V here, the only option for Ian would be to use Stoutland Wild Tackle. It deals 200 base, and then if he had his 4th and final powerful energy, I know he used 3 on the Lugia. Has he lost another one at any point this game?
I think he was counting them, but I don't know if he's lost it yet.
Okay. So that would be Ian's way to try to close out the game if Daniel did Aqua Return into the Lugia. He's also bringing Raikou to the front. There is a play where you could maybe go for the amazing shot, set up some damage. This Charizard, its effective Combustion Blast, it cannot attack this turn, actually.
It's a great way to mess with your opponent. If you think that they're down a lot of energies, perhaps the retreat in combination with an attack on the Archeops would be difficult to find.
Daniel, though, playing this Luminion down, so it looks like Archeops will not be, or excuse me, the Raikou will not be the choice, and Archeops will use its ability now, grabbing 2 energy cards from the deck, placing them onto Luminion V. Aqua Return lined up. It will be knocking out this Radiant Charizard, but what does Daniel go into? Manaphy gets knocked out pretty easily. I guess you're probably okay with that if you can just find a way to close out the game.
Yep. I think that's got to be it.
Yeah, not the Lugia. Don't give your opponent that Lugia win con. And this is a spot where actually the escape rope from Ian would have been pretty nice, potentially. Force up that Archeops, but we know it is in the remaining 2 prizes.
Yeah, you start to wonder if Daniel has that information as well. You don't always think about escape rope when you're playing in this mirror match, but
no,
that would be devastating right here.
And this is a spot where you feel like, oh, Stoutland, low HP Manaphy. Could I get this double dip Fangs KO? But unfortunately for Ian, he has used his... Oh, he's got the boss on the Archeops. Okay. Ian has already used too many of his powerful energies, so Stoutland not going to be the best option as far as double dip Fangs goes, but that Wild Tackle can get in there.
That's right, and as you mentioned, that last powerful is there. Not going to be too relevant, at least for this knockout, but certainly any Pokemon that could endure a hit is not going to be around, as this Stoutland is ready to take the knockout and remove all of the energies
and
that Daniel could find.
And now it'll be Manaphy versus the world, and I don't think there's anything Daniel can do about it. No way to accelerate energy. No one energy attackers, as that Radiant Charizard has already been used. This is just excellent navigation by Ian, finding the perfect way to get out of this spot. Going second in this mirror match, he's piloted this matchup masterfully.
Oh, we see the Stoutland mirror match. Aurora Energy. And just considering everything here, Stoutland, it can hang around as we see the double turbo and the powerful counteract each other. It's just 200, so 10 short of the knockout. But what are we drawing to here, Chip?
Not much. It's going to be retreating to Stoutland and hope your opponent can't win the game. Now, Ian cannot knock out the Stoutland. There is that double turbo and the powerful energy on this active. Ian can't win on that active, but if he has a boss, he could win, and he did find the rope off the prizes, but it just got put to the bottom of his deck with the Marnie.
Oh, yeah, it's right there. He has to stare at it once more as he uses that evolution instance to thin out a little bit, perhaps if the supporter for the turn is card like one of those research, could dig a little further, maybe find the right card.
You got to feel like, though, even if Ian doesn't win this turn, like
oh, it's inevitable.
Yeah, it's almost impossible for Daniel to do anything to come back in this.
Here we go. Looking at 7 to try to find that rope to close things out. I don't think we see it. I guess there was outs to just turbo and pull a lot of energies too if you wanted, but when you know you're going to win, who cares? Just double dip for a little bit.
Double dip for a little bit, exactly what Ian is doing. Choosing not to use that wild tackle, even though it would deal more damage. It doesn't really matter as you 2-hit KO this Stoutland regardless, so why use the attack that does a little extra damage to you?
Oh, do what you can. Bring up that Archeops. Ian says, hey, guess what? I got a cool energy. Well, lets me retreat and win game 1.
Daniel going for the one play he had available. Ian recognizing, hey, I've got this energy. You played a supporter. You can't Marnie me. I'm guaranteed to have this. Just a quick flash of it. Let your opponent know I've gotten the win next turn. And we're going into game 2. Ian Robb playing excellently in order to just put himself in a great spot in that game 1, getting the win. What do you think about that, Kyle?
I think that was perfect. Ridiculous. Also the fact that it was exactly 25 minutes as we roll in. We could have 3 incredible mirror matches here, back to back to back potentially, and the fact that he won that going second in the way that he did, having to bench down the double Lugia and finding that knockout out of nowhere with the choice belt in hand ready to go. Yeah, that was supreme.
Yeah, that was massive. That is a one of unsearchable item card unless you play specifically Irida, right, for it that turn. So
you never have it.
Yeah, and well, sometimes you do. Tell that to Ian. He didn't get the memo.
Yeah, well, you never have it, and then you also need to get the Archeops into the discard pile with the Aurora energy. The powerful energy that you wanted is in your hand, so you also have to Marnie it to the bottom so you can pull it with your other Archeops. It was pretty surreal, and I'm sure Daniel was not excited to see that his V-guarded Lugia got knocked out immediately.
And from Daniel's point of view as well, you always have to look at those games when you're playing Lugia and wonder, did I make a misstep at some point? I went first in the mirror. I attacked every single turn, and my opponent somehow won the game. Do you think there's really anything that Daniel did incorrectly or could improve moving into this next game, or was it more a situation of Ian just happened to get there with that belt?
I worry if Oranguru wasn't being used as a resource as well as it could have, because I know a lot of players start to worry about the Raikou coming down and taking that easy prize card on the Oranguru. That's a way to give your opponent that comeback mechanism, but we saw a real drought in Daniel's hand throughout the majority of the middle of the opening game, and I think maybe with that Pokemon he could have avoided that.
Prize cards going out now for Ian. I did see that Irida in there. Something to note, something to make sure we are aware of. Daniel is the one who really utilized Irida to good effect in game number 1. Ian grabbed it and quick balled it away.
Yeah, I've seen better uses of it, especially when it can grab you 2 of any card. And look at that. It's
couple
Archeops party over here.
3
for Ian, 1 for Daniel, one of those Luminion as well, and the choice belt.
Yeah, that choice belt is something that is a little nerve-wracking when it's prized. Hey, finally, there we go, Kyle.
I told you.
Wait, look at his hand,
I don't think he had a choice. It's really bad.
He has like 5 energy cards in his hand.
It's really bad,
He has all energy cards in his hand, and I think a research to follow it up. Is Daniel Zhou really going to research away 4 energy cards next turn?
That's really, really bad, Chip.
It seems that way. Now Ian with the Lugia V of his own on the bench, mirroring his opponent's start from game number 1, Manaphy in the active, and now Capture Energy being attached. Searching out a basic Pokemon, putting it directly onto the bench. In these positions, when you see your opponent did not discard any Archeops, they didn't do anything really. All they did was play the Oranguru, use Primate Wisdom, and pass. Do you worry about the second Lugia? Ian looks like he's respecting it.
Yeah, we talked to Kieran about this, and he said, absolutely do not play that down. If you have a read on your opponent that they're not going to be able to take that and you're going second in this matchup, don't play the Lugia V. Ian said, I don't care. As long as I'm going to do exactly what I did in game number 1 and has this Lugia V. I think it was a lot more impending in game 1 when we saw double Archeops in the discard pile.
Sure.
And here we are with Ian. At least had 1 Archeops.
Yeah,
were there 2?
I was going to ask if you caught that. He discarded that hand
It
so
flew.
quickly. I definitely saw 1 go down. Looks
Thanks,
like,
Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel, we appreciate this. Get us a check. There is
Just
one,
one.
just the one. That other hollow card, of course, being a Marnie in that discard pile. That Pumpkaboo goes down. Not a card that's useful in this matchup. Ian does find a Evolution Incense. Can now find another Archeops. Does he have a Quick Ball or Ultra in hand? Maybe that one of Escape Rope to go for the Read the Wind, potentially. It will be the Ultra Ball as the choice.
Yeah, this is very strong. And this is what Ian probably wanted to have in the opening game, just that single prize Pokemon in the active position. When you're playing the double Lugia going second, you know that you're not going to be giving up 2 prize cards fairly easily. It's a lot to ask your opponent to find 2 Archeops, and also the boss's orders to go along with it, as not everyone's playing that rope like you are.
Now, off this Ultra Ball, Ian will grab the V-Star, prepping that for the next turn. There is, of course, the potential your opponent could Marnie it down to the bottom. I wonder if Ian maybe is holding on to that Oranguru, wants to go for that, prep it on top, guarantee that you'll find the V-Star next turn, or you just maybe hope your opponent doesn't have the Marnie, thin that card out, and just see what happens.
Yeah, that third bench space is always really pivotal, and Ian valuing even Raikou potentially there. I don't know if that's exactly the way you want to go about this. And yeah, I think he's going to hold that. That's a good decision.
Does pass over to Daniel, top decking for turn. Of course, the energy he just put back. I think his hand...
I can't.
I think he's got nothing. I think it's 4 or 5 energy cards and an Archeops. I don't even think there's a supporter.
There are 3.
It's 6 energy.
3 Aurora
and
energy, found a pumpkin.
Pumpkaboo does nothing.
Double turbo, Archeops, double turbo, triple Aurora, pumpkin.
Oh, this is so bad for Daniel Zhou.
Sound the horns.
This is not what you want to see, and it's not even worth using Read the Wind. Retreat, pass, and Ian Robb is looking to pounce at this position. Go for the throat. Take out that Lugia V if he can at all costs. He just discarded a boss's orders. He's now filled that bench up.
Oh.
Is he just going to take out both the Guru and the Pumpkin, or does he have another boss in the hands?
Does he have a way to bring this Lugia up? If he can knock out that in combination with the Oranguru, that is ridiculous.
It was Manaphy versus the world, game 1. Is it about to be the Pumpkaboo versus the world?
Okay, just
No,
Lugia.
no.
We know.
This makes sense, though, because you know your opponent's top deck is nothing. Your opponent top deck's nothing.
That's the game.
Daniel cannot do a thing about it, and Ian Robb wins a 2-0 set in top 4 to move on to the finals here in Vancouver.
Who's ready for a caster showdown?
Jeez.
That was so quick as Ian Robb moves into the finals looking for his 5th potential regional win. Unreal way to close things up.